Welcome back to another brand new episode of Pixel Peek. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Have you seen the Sonic movie yet? I've heard that it's becoming a hit worldwide.
I have. Some of the Pixel Peek crew went earlier this week, and I gotta say, I didn't hate it. In fact, it was kind of charming and fun. We're going to talk about it a little in this week's news and how it compares to Detective Pikachu.
We'll also talk about Activision Blizzard's move from Twitch to YouTube gaming for streaming, and how that could affect streams of Call of Duty and Overwatch tournaments.
Coronavirus also strikes again this week, and Sony is dropping out at PAX East because of it. We're still looking for a cure.
For this week's game review, Bobby Padgett returns to the stage to talk about a game he's been playing lately, Coffee Talk. It's exactly what it sounds like.
And for this week's analysis, we're getting PC Analyst Walker Peters to talk about the transition for tabletop games into the digital sphere with Magic the Gathering Arena. They even moved their worldwide tournament format to the digital version of the game.
We have a lot to talk about this week, so let's get started. I'm Sydney Thompson.
And I'm Kristen Lawrence, and we hope you enjoy your stay here on Pixel Peek.
Sonic the Hedgehog hit theaters Valentine's Day weekend after its announcement in 2018. Many seemed worried about the movie's release, from the fan backlash to the first trailer and the movie's troubled history. However, Sonic outperformed Detective Pikachu on its opening weekend, setting a new record for movie adaptations of video game characters and franchises. Other video game movie adaptations have not gone so well in the past. The Resident Evil movie franchise, despite being the highest-grossing video game movie series, has ratings on Rotten Tomatoes ranging from 20% to 37%. The newest Tomb Raider did do better than the previous attempts of the Tomb Raider film, but still only got a 55% audience review score on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics' opinions on the Sonic the Hedgehog movie were mostly unimpressed, with most of the praise going toward Jim Carrey's take on Dr. Robotnik. For the average viewer, however, Sonic the Hedgehog was a huge hit, receiving a 95% audience review score on Rotten Tomatoes. Sonic the Hedgehog received a gross of $68 million over its opening weekend, and as of now has amassed over $200 million worldwide. Although rumors are already circulating about a sequel to the film, Paramount has yet to make an official statement.
Users of GeForce Now are currently unable to play Activision Blizzard titles through NVIDIA's recent update for the software on consoles. GeForce Now allows players to stream games they purchased in digital stores, allowing them to play titles that are not initially available on the hardware. However, support for Activision Blizzard titles, including World of Warcraft, Overwatch, and Call of Duty, have been removed. NVIDIA released a statement explaining it was the publisher's decision, but did not initially give an explicit reason. Activision Blizzard community manager Corey Banks commented, "As we take GeForce Now to the next step in its evolution, we've worked with publishers to onboard a robust catalog of your PC games. This means continually adding new games and, on occasion, having to remove games, similar to other digital service providers. Per their request, please be advised Activision Blizzard games will be removed from the service. While unfortunate, we hope to work together with Activision Blizzard to re-enable these games and more in the future." Banks went on to say that the service still supports hundreds of games, with more than 1,000 others on the way. A casual search through the GeForce Now site shows the streaming service supports titles from Ubisoft, Bethesda, 2K Games, Deep Silver, Paradox Interactive, and more. NVIDIA has since stated why Activision Blizzard's games had been removed and attributed it to a misunderstanding. The publisher was in a beta test of GeForce Now, and because of this, NVIDIA thought the partnership was included past the trial period. GeForce Now is hoping to continue work with Activision Blizzard in the future and allowing those games as well as future games to be available on their platform.
Activision Blizzard is seeing some more news headlines this week because a rumored deal with Google for the media rights to esports events is worth $160 million. This figure, according to multiple sources, includes events around Call of Duty, Overwatch, and Hearthstone in particular. YouTube is set to broadcast these games for 3 years, and although it is not clear how much each title is worth, it's suggested the Overwatch League makes up most of the money, with Call of Duty being a close second. The new deal includes significant incentive clauses for viewership targets and sales. Although the amount given to Overwatch is not an increase from previous Twitch deals, all involved are said to be happy with the deal. The deal was announced last month and is part of a relationship between Activision Blizzard and Google. It was speculated that this may have played a factor in Activision pulling its games from Nvidia's GeForce Now streaming service less than a week after launch, although that was later confirmed not to be the case. While the final amount has yet to be confirmed, looks like Activision Blizzard and Google will be working together to broadcast games for the next couple of years to come.
NVIDIA is rolling out a limited edition graphics card based on CD Projekt Red's upcoming title, Cyberpunk 2077. After the card's announcement, fans have been clamoring for a retail version to be available for purchase because, surprisingly, it won't be available in stores. All 200 of these exclusive units will be given away or auctioned off for charity, with the first models available through the RTX On sweepstakes, which are currently taking place on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, when the hashtag RTXON is used. The card itself is a special edition of NVIDIA's RTX 2080 Ti graphics card, which is surrounded by a custom aluminum shroud with CD Projekt Red's branding and the signature yellow styling from Cyberpunk 2077. Details on NVIDIA's website also state that the card comes gift-wrapped in a special edition Cyberpunk 2077 box and that it's, quote, perfect for a collector's shelf. Working with PC hardware manufacturers hasn't gone smoothly for CD Projekt Red in the past, but this current relationship has been going well. With the recent several-month delay of Cyberpunk 2077, this campaign is sure to keep fans hyped until the game is released on September 17th.
Sony will no longer be at PAX East in Boston this year due to concerns around the further spread of coronavirus. The company's original PlayStation blog post detailed what the company would be doing, and has now been updated to announce their withdrawal from the event. In the announcement, Sony states, "Today, Sony Interactive Entertainment made the decision to cancel its participation at PAX East in Boston this year due to increasing concerns related to COVID-19, also known as novel coronavirus. We felt this was the safest option as the situation is changing daily. We are disappointed to cancel our participation in this event, but the health and safety of our global workforce is our highest concern." Organizers for PAX have updated the PAX East website, confirming that while the event is happening, they are also incorporating enhanced cleaning and sanitization across the show, including the US EPA's emerging pathogen policy regarding cleaning disinfectants that are effective against the COVID-19 virus.
The highly anticipated Animal Crossing New Horizons received a direct presentation this past Thursday that laid out what details and features players can expect when the game releases this March. When players start the game, they will be able to choose which island they would like to live on. Players can also choose to live in the northern or southern hemisphere, and regardless of which hemisphere they decide on, players will experience all 4 seasons. Each season will bring different activities such as gathering leaves or seeds in the fall and making a snowman in the winter, similar to previous titles in the franchise. Also similar to previous entries, a tent will be accessible when starting the game, and players will be responsible for building additional tents for guest players to join through online play. There will be 2 facilities available on the island players will have access to, these being resident services and the airport. Resident services will allow the purchase of goods, sell items, and craft items using recipes. The airport will allow other players to visit your island and vice versa. 8 players will be able to visit an island at a time, and Nook Inc. will provide items and features to online visitors in addition to the tent, such as medicine, special broadcasts, daily tasks, and ghost finding and rescue services. The Nintendo Switch Online app will get Nook Link, which allows players to scan custom designs from Animal Crossing New Leaf, the last mainline Animal Crossing title that was on the 3DS. Something new about Animal Crossing New Horizons includes optional downloadable facilities confirmed for future updates. Facilities like the museum, general store, tailor, and campgrounds will be available on islands to the player's discretion. But more importantly, these updates will be free and will start shortly after launch. Animal Crossing New Horizons will launch on March 20th for the Nintendo Switch. That's all we have for this week's news, so let's put Xbox analyst Bobby Padgett in the spotlight again for this week's game review.
Hi everybody, I'm Bobby Padgett, your friendly neighborhood Xbox analyst, and I'm back for another game review. I've been taking the last couple of weeks pretty easy by serving up some local patrons at the digital cafe. Come on and take a step behind the bar with me as I review Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk was released on January 29th for PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Nintendo Switch. Developed by Toge Productions, who were mainly known for their Flash games back in the day. Coffee Talk doesn't pit you as the hero in a grand adventure, but rather sets you as barista in a small Seattle coffee shop, meaning you can now live out your fantasy of playing as Sojiro from Persona 5, but without the crossword puzzles.
Vertical is the name of a shellfish used for farming pearls.
But this isn't the Seattle you're used to. This Seattle is home to werewolves, vampires, elves, succubi, orcs, dwarves, and a few other races, all living beside humans. You play as a barista at Coffee Talk, a coffee shop that only opens its doors when the sun goes down. The story mode plays out over the course of 2 weeks with a plethora of various characters, who all have their own problems that need fixing. What the game doesn't really tell you is that there are no dialogue options. Customers converse with your character and solve their own problems, and rather your choices in dialogue, your choice of beverages steers the story. Your drinks are brewed using a combination of 3 ingredients, a base, a primary, and a secondary ingredient. Customers' orders will be fairly straightforward most of the time, but other times they'll ask for a drink that you haven't made or cataloged in your phone's brewpad app, and you'll need to experiment a little. Thankfully, the game gives you 5 chances per in-game day to get the right drinks. What you'll learn about halfway through the game is that, while your customers still enjoy the drinks you give them, they prefer the ones with actual names, like a Midsummer Night's Dream instead of a lemon tea. Once you've brewed a new drink, it gets recorded in your brewpad, an app on your phone, which may not seem that important, but the 4 apps on your phone are an integral part to the game. I already mentioned the brewpad, which is key to helping you remember a customer's favorite drink. Tomodachi is an in-game social media platform that teaches you things about your customers that you may not hear just through regular gameplay. The Evening Whispers, the in-game newspaper, whose short stories dramatize your most recent conversations, is good for keeping up with what's been going on in the game. And finally, there's Shuffled, which acts as a music selector as you play the game. While Coffee Talk's writing isn't necessarily the best, there are some really great moments, like when 2 of your customers start discussing an in-series video game series getting a film adaptation, and they start discussing about how some games can only tell their stories through an interactive medium, like Coffee Talk itself. At another point, Freya, who's chronicling the stories of the shop's customers, discusses making her book into a choose-your-own-adventure novel, and essentially starts to describe games like the Telltale series. It's extremely meta, and it's part of what makes Coffee Talk a great game. Coffee Talk shines not in its writing or story, but in its atmosphere. It's the rainy exterior and the muted earth tones of the shop interior that really sell the experience. Your customers appear as pixelated anime sprites, who have several animations and expressions, which makes these sprites feel both nostalgic for 90s era video games, but also alive, like real, living, breathing people who need warm beverages to help them with their problems. Outside the coffee shop, it's always raining, and the gentle rumble of the virtual Seattle's raindrops on the coffee shop roof help build a calming soundscape. And the soundtrack, the soundtrack. Coffee Talk's soundtrack provides some of the most relaxing music ever. The soundtrack is slow, jazzy, and absolutely relaxing. And you can play specific songs in-game as part of your in-game phone, which is honestly something that I feel like more games should use. These lo-fi beats would be perfect to study to on their own, but when they're put together with the rest of Coffee Talk, they turn this game into the most warm and fuzzy feeling you can possibly imagine. Coffee Talk is fun, warm, but above all, it's a great game. Coffee Talk is the perfect way to unwind with a soothing soundtrack, interesting character designs, and a variety of different brews to master. There were a few translation errors, and the writing could have used a boost, but I still thoroughly enjoyed my time as a gaming barista while it lasted. That's all I have for you on this week's game review, so I'll send you on over to our brand new host, Bryce Gates, for this week's analysis.
Hey, I'm Pixel Peak's brand new host, Bryce Gates. Something we don't talk about much here on Pixel Peak are tabletop games. Usually tabletop games and video games don't overlap, but with the release of Magic the Gathering Arena, those two worlds are starting to merge. Here with me to talk about Magic the Gathering Arena's significance is our PC Analyst Walker Peters. Thank you for joining us, Walker.
Glad to be here again.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. So what is Magic the Gathering's Arena?
Magic the Gathering Arena is a digital client for Wizards of the Coast classic, well-known, world-famous trading card game, Magic the Gathering. Of course, Magic the Gathering is the trading card game to some people. So Magic the Gathering Arena is an attempt to move that game into popular digital spaces that are easily accessible to everyone without investing money in the game like you would need to in paper.
Magic the Gathering's tournaments in the past have always been tabletop with physical cards. But this year their world has been moved to a more digital platform for their championship in Arena. How has that been implemented?
So it's mostly a business decision. Like I said, Magic the Gathering Arena is so accessible to newcomers that hosting tournaments on there is a great way to get people started playing the game. As for how it's being implemented, the Arena client has rules, its own rule set built into the system, whereas in tabletop, it's on the players to know the rules, and if needed, an expert can be called, but there's less pressure on the players when using Arena.
How are tournament regulations handled with the Arena that makes it different from the physical card game and other online card games such as Hearthstone and Legends of Runeterra?
Well, many things that have been long used in paper tournaments such as decklist registration, judge calls for rule disputes, and drafting don't really need to be done in Magic the Gathering Arena because of the fully digital client. Of course, there are some issues. The drafting system built into Arena cannot be done with other players. So for draft tournaments that are played on Arena, the players will need to hold a physical draft.
Back in the day, Magic the Gathering had another digital implementation, now referred to as Magic Online. How does the original compare to Arena?
So Magic Online, which is still being updated to this day, is less of a game and more of a way to play Magic online, if that makes sense. Whereas Arena is designed to be easy to start and play for just about anyone and appealing. Magic Online requires significant investment to start playing, similar to paper Magic, and has an unintuitive, poorly designed interface that really hasn't been updated since its release in 2002.
So why was Magic the Gathering Arena chosen to be the client over Magic Online for the World Championship?
So again, it's an easy way to get new players playing the game. Whereas paper Magic, you usually have to go to events in person or buy the cards. Anyone can download Arena and just start playing. So from Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro's perspective, it makes a lot of sense to hold their biggest events on the online client, which will in turn get more people playing it. Of course, it's also a lot easier for viewers to follow due to the digital interface rather than a camera being pointed at physical cards.
Lots of tabletop card games are seeing releases on digital platforms such as Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Do you think that other physical card games will move to digital formats because of Magic's shift for this tournament?
So I think this is more of Magic reacting to shifts in the existing card game market, which is the rising popularity in digital card games such as Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra, Gwent, and similar digital-only online card games. Whereas Magic has traditionally dominated the tabletop card game world, previously they didn't really have a stronghold in the digital market. And so Magic Arena is Wizards of the Coast attempts to rectify that and hold on to their influence and status within card games as a whole, rather than just specifically tabletop games.
What do you hope to see from digital card games tournaments moving forward that you haven't seen already?
Well, like I said earlier, I do think the client needs to make sure it has everything needed to hold the drafts, or to hold the events, including draft, including being able to draft. Right now, there's sort of a mishmash between what can and can't be done on the clients. So I just think everything needs to get streamlined before they try and put everything online.
All right, man. Well, that's all the questions I had for you today. I really appreciate you coming out and talking to me, Walker.
Of course.
That's all for this week's analysis. So let's pass it on to Kristen and Sydney to wrap up this week's episode.
Thanks for stopping by and watching another week of content from Pixel Peak. We hope you enjoyed it.
Wait, who is that on analysis? Bryce Gates?
Yeah, he's our new host.
What happened to Laird?
I have no idea. Some say the producers took him off the clock and made him do the editorial section, and it didn't go so well.
Wait, aren't you an assistant producer? Shouldn't you know?
Make sure to follow our social media pages. You can find us at Pixel Peak AppTV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Be sure to watch Pixel Peak every Wednesday afternoon at 2 on watchapptv.com, Sky Best Channels 20 and 1020, Spectrum Channel 198, or on App State's Campus Television Channel 23.3. Once we go live next week, you can catch us on those same channels, but on Sundays at 8 p.m. instead.
And of course, we couldn't have put together this week's episode without our incredible crew. Thanks to writers Jalen Curitin and Rebecca Larson, PC Analyst Walker Peters, Xbox Analyst Bobby Padgett, and producers Tanner Mizell, Elise Taylor, and moi for another week of impeccable gaming industry content.
Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you enjoyed your stay here on Pixel Peak.